Today, you get to see behind the curtain of what my entire emergency fund is invested in. From ETFs to risky, volatile individual stocks that have done nothing but lose us money, I'll show you everything. You might be asking, why am I even sharing this? I always personally find it interesting to see what other people are invested in and why, and like how much they have in that one individual stock or how much they have in this index fund, because it implies that they have like some trust in it. So this isn't investing advice by any means, but it's interesting. So let's talk about it. Also, I have a distinct feeling that you'll disagree with me on a handful of these choices I've made, so feel free to voice your opinions in a comment. I'll give you a brief history of our emergency fund. First, it started in cash in a Wells Fargo savings account. Wells Fargo is not great. I don't love Wells Fargo and I don't recommend it. Then we moved it to an Ally Bank high interest savings. Then we broke it out into different Ally Bank CDs that were paying almost 3% interest several years ago. That was all great because it was just a higher return and zero risk. Then we moved a large chunk of it into Yada Savings and Prize Pool, like almost all of it. Yada Savings and Prize Pool, if you don't know, are two new savings account services that are prize linked savings. So you basically get entered into a raffle each week. Prizes are drawn in the form of cash. Sometimes Yada gives away a Tesla. I think they just gave away their second Tesla, which is pretty nuts, but they're just savings accounts that pay more interest than a standard one. They're both great. I've made tons of videos about both of them. Check them out in the description below. After Yada Savings and Prize Pool, I finally buckled down and invested. So why would we invest our emergency fund? A lot of people are against this. A lot of people think that this is a stupid thing to do, that you should always have your emergency fund in a bank account. So why would I do this? First of all, I'm bullish, aka optimistic about the stock market as a whole in the long term, at least for my lifetime. There's no telling what's going to happen in the year 21, 25, but for now, I'm pretty confident. So if that's the case, and I'm confident in the stock market, why wouldn't I invest it? Well, risk. Risk is the real reason here, because we could have something like a pandemic hit. We could have something like an economic or natural disaster, and it could crush the economy. And in that case, I risk losing money. What I'm doing is weighing the opportunity cost of making upwards of maybe 20% per year investing it, or keeping it safe at the 1 to 3% level via the methods we used before. I personally rationed that even if the stock market has a terrible next decade and only average 2%, which would throw Wall Street into a spectacular uproar, we would have made the same money as if we played it safe in the bank or in Yada or whatever. So when the opportunity to win largely outweighs the potential to lose, we need to act. All right, here it is. Here is our emergency fund portfolio in its entirety. Let's talk about what I've got in here, why I chose these things, and the basic rationale. Whenever I started doing this, I thought I would start safely with a number of indexes, namely SPHD, VTI, and a few others like VGT, VNQ, VOOG, VOOV, and NOBL. My rationale was that even if the dividend ETFs, SPHD, and NOBL didn't appreciate at all, and everything else was totally stagnant or even a little bit negative, we would maintain or slowly increase our balance a bit via the dividends. This was kind of my foray into dividends. Every quarter, as these funds paid out a cash dividend to our account, we'd at least have that positive going for us. SPHD is the Invesco S&P 500 high dividend, low volatility ETF. So they're trying to pick companies that have relatively high dividends but aren't crazy volatile. And NOBL is the ProShares S&P 500 Dividend Aristocrats ETF. It basically is this list of dividend paying companies that make it into the Dividend Aristocrats, where they consistently raise their dividend over time. And then the others are different Vanguard funds. So VGT is the Vanguard Information Technology Index Fund. VNQ is the Vanguard Real Estate Index Fund. VOOG is the Vanguard S&P 500 Growth Index Fund. So they pick companies that would try and grow. VOOV is the Vanguard S&P 500 Value Index Fund. So they try and pick companies that are like a good value and that they're kind of underpriced right now. And so that was kind of the initial round. That was the starting group. And then over time, I put more and more money into it from the other sources. I kind of drained out the bank account, drained out much of Yada and Prize Pool, even though we still have a few $1,000s in those. And I put them in this next group. Somehow this was the point that I thought, oh, I've done this really sort of safe, conservative index picking. Now I should do some high risk stuff. So I bought a tiny bit of what I felt was much more volatile investments. The first is an ETF called LIT. It's the Global Lithium and Battery Tech ETF. So the rationale there was there's a lot of new batteries coming out, a lot of electric cars. I mean, so many things are battery powered. I'll pick this thing. That was about as much rationale as I had. Very, very little. I also bought a whopping 2 shares in Plug Power Inc., which somehow I thought was like an ETF or an index fund. I thought it was something else like Lit. No, it's just a single company. And so that's done terribly. Oh my gosh, so terribly. Actually, it's come back up here recently because I was at like negative 15% for the longest time. Now I've almost broken even overall. Wow, because it went up 6.7% today. That's why. Holy moly. That's a big gain for a day. I also bought QQQ and QQQJ. And so those are the Invesco QQQ Trust and the Invesco NASDAQ Next Gen 100 ETF. If I'm honest, I was interested in these because I saw other people getting good returns from them. I'm guilty as charged, part of the herd, just a sheep following the other sheep here. Now, none of those have like an insane amount of money in them, but it's still a good amount of money. The most recent addition is this WKLY, and that's the SoFi Weekly Dividend ETF. Because it's just odd. Like, it's such a satisfying thing to get a dividend, and the fact that they're paying it every week is like this very unique thing. It's the first weekly dividend paying ETF that I know of, that I've ever heard of, and so I had to try it. Overall, though, it's paying a much smaller dividend than something like NOBL or SPHD because it's only like 2% per year. And so there's not really a great reason to do this, because unless you literally are planning on living off of this income and living on a weekly paycheck that comes from WKLY, then you're going to make a lot more money doing other stuff. But I still think it's pretty satisfying. It's gone up a couple percent since I bought it, which is nice. And we've made some cash in the meantime. Was it worth it? I would say so far, definitely so. We have made thousands of dollars, at least on paper, not actually literally yet, because we haven't cashed these things out yet, so we don't have the money. But in theoretical gains, we have made thousands of dollars more than if we had kept the money in the bank. The other reality here is the fact that our underlying circumstances in life have been so stable that we've had the luxury of keeping our emergency fund invested. That's the real winner here. That part of our life being stable is a mix of luck, blessing, and planning. It's luck and blessing that nothing catastrophic has happened, and planning in the form of budgeting, saving, working hard at our jobs, that kind of thing, just to create as much stability as possible. So we are beyond thankful for that. Should you invest your emergency fund? That might be the next question that we can consider. I'm not touching that kind of thing with any kind of blanket answer with a 10-foot pole. There is no chance. The answer is different for everyone based on your life and your needs. I can say that it's definitely worth having an emergency fund, because that is a huge help when things turn sour or you have a nasty unplanned expense. What you do with it from then on is up to you. I'd say, as far as having an emergency fund at all and figuring out how much you should have, the bare minimum should be 1 to 2 months of your normal living expenses. And if you can, having even more is better. Some people have as much as 1 to 2 years of their living expenses saved in cash, like in a bank account. In my mind, that's pretty darn conservative. Having 50K, 60K, 100K in cash means that a lot of your money is not working for you at all. But for them, knowing they have it ready and the money isn't going to lose any value is really comforting. There's probably somebody out there who thinks the fact that I'm invested in these things is way too conservative, that I'm losing out on potential gains in whatever kind of new investment is out there, that I could be making tons and tons of profit, and frankly, I'm an idiot for not doing that. So we're going to have a wide variety of opinions here, but that's fine. That's partially what this platform is for, so we can share our opinions, share what we've learned, and share our experience. You've watched till the end of the video, and for fun, I like to have a secret comment section for those of us that have made it this far. Today, the secret comment word/emoji is alarm. If you enjoyed the video or learned something new about emergency funds or investing, or you just thought that it was entertaining, include an alarm emoji or mention alarm in your comment. I'll keep an eye out for these because they are my favorite comments by far. If you'd like to watch more about a similar topic, I recommend watching my Ally Invest review, because I go over that investing service in a lot more detail than I did right here. So if you're curious, it's linked in the description, and I'll put it right here for you. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing so you don't miss future videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye.